Hey traders, this is my midday video. I really prefer doing early morning videos. I get a lot more viewers and a lot more feedback on those videos. But I woke up this morning not feeling good and under the weather, really bad headache. So it was after 9 o'clock before I turned my computer on. So I do apologize for giving you this late video. Be sure and like it if you like it, and leave some comments and stuff you're seeing. I'm actually bearish into the afternoon hours. I think we're going to be closing nearer the lows of the session instead of up here. Right now we're inside of value, and we're rejecting this. This is our primary downtrend, and we're right on the outer limits of that downtrend. I think we are rejecting this on the Russell, and we are in for a potential sell signal on the Russell into the afternoon hours. So as you can see on our daily volume profile, we have a double volume profile set up right here. I think we are rejecting lower, and we are going to migrate down into this level into the afternoon hours. So just something I'm looking at here. I think we are rejecting the downtrend. We're going into next week, all automated trading, and in New York's on a shutdown. There's a lot. I think there's a lot of fear, and rightfully so, fear going into next week that there is not going to be an impetus to be holding positions above this downtrend, in my opinion, and we are more likely to come down, especially on the Russell here, going forward into the week. Okay, and then we'll go with our next beta name. Look at this. We are breaking out of our daily value. See, value for all morning long was accepted right here at the top of the ranges, and now we are migrating hard away from value on our intraday price action here. So something to keep in mind. As of yesterday, our value area low was right down here on the midline. That's actually where I think we're headed, down into this area for the Russell. Actually, I might actually initiate even more shorts here. I think it's just completely carnage here in the Qs in the Qs here. I think it's just complete and total liquidation hitting the Qs as we speak. Okay, the ES futures. 5 minute here. Let me zoom in here so you can see the profiles a little bit better. All right. We have a double distribution on our volume profiles, and we built out value lower on today's price action for the S&Ps. So we do have a little. The Qs were acting much more, much stronger into the morning session, and it seems like they've completely flipped the switch on the Nasdaq, in my opinion, based on the price action I'm seeing here. Yesterday's inventory. Basically, we built out 80% of the inventory in this area. We are right here, right now, rejecting even yesterday's primary inventory as we speak here. So something to keep in mind that most of the inventory was up here, and we are coming down into this secondary distribution area. As you can tell, there's a clearly redefined cutoff on the distribution. So we're going back into Thursday's volume point of control right here, right now. Okay, this is the highest point to do business Thursday, or for Wednesday. I'm sorry. For Wednesday, this was the highest point to do business in that market session. And if that's the case, and if we're accepting prices down here, it only makes sense that we are going to be trading right down here in this trading range based on volume profile theory. Okay, so something to keep in mind going forward here. So far, Wednesday's highest point to do business acted as support in the opening session. I think we are breaking that as we speak. We are breaking to higher price points. So we'll see what happens here going into close. A lot of risk holding to the long side. You're not going to see me doing any calls at this point in the day. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of what I'm seeing here. I just think we are anybody and everybody who's put on some long positions, they're about to get absolutely rocked to the downside, in my opinion. Some trades I'm thinking about here. The VIX, we have the automated trading hitting the markets next week, and I'm thinking that's going to be a negative for the VIX next week. Now, just because the VIX is coming in doesn't mean the markets are going to rally, but we're going to have probably 20% less volume with all the floor traders being gone. And with that lower volume, my theory is we're not actually going to spike higher in the VIX. We're actually going to bleed lower next week. So that's a trade you may want to consider going next week. Remember, the VIX peaked out in 2007. It was four or 5 months later before the markets actually finished bottoming. So something to keep in mind going forward here in your trading. Another thing you can do here, there's the breakout. You put some fib fans on here. This will give you an idea of the primary trend on the VIX. So basically, we haven't even come back into the midline yet. So I'm thinking next week we will be definitely testing our midline on our volatility. So something to keep on watch going forward here on this massive up move in our VIX. So basically, we're not actually turning bearish on the VIX until we break our midline. So the primary uptrend is still intact. Just something to keep in mind with the lower volumes next week. VIX is probably a sell going into next week. And then our TLT came back down. We are trying to hold in this upper distribution breakout area on our bonds. So something to keep in watch here. A lot of liquidation going on the bonds. I think there was a major need for cash to cover for some of these margin calls, and that has taken a lot of the froth out of these low yielding bonds. But the real issue here is the government is trying to stimulate the economy by lower interest rates, and basically when the bonds come down, that means going higher. So keep that in mind going forward here. Apple's alerting as we speak, so let's go ahead and look at that. I did Apple calls earlier today, made some decent money on it. This late in the day, I don't know if dip buyers are coming in or not. Nope, looks like liquidity hitting the bonds or hitting Apple. So basically, my alert's going off because they are dumping Apple as we speak. So keep that in mind. I was watching this. I saw this consolidating with all my MAs right here. I had a feeling this was about to happen. So yeah. So basically, they are getting out of the way for Apple here, and that is one of the major tells that the indices are showing relative weakness. Okay, my first trade today was Boeing calls. So I got these right in this area right here, and as you can see, it went against me. Near the lows, I tripled down on the Boeing calls. So, you know, we got down into this next yesterday's midline. And we had a major upgrade on Boeing, in my opinion, to $150 a share today. And I didn't want to be in a situation where Boeing completely took off without me, like Tesla did yesterday on its upgrade. So I did manage to make some decent money on Boeing today. And, you know, I cashed out quick. And, you know, so it turned into a pretty good trade for me on Boeing. Okay, my third trade today was Facebook. I was slightly bullish for starting the morning here in the Qs seem to be outperforming this morning. So whenever I saw that they were trying to hold the 100 SMA, I used my Know Your Limit 100 strategy for Facebook, and I did catch a nice responsive bounce in Facebook for some profit. So that worked out pretty good here. I didn't hold it long enough, of course, but you know, a win is a win, and that you gotta go with that. A little bit later, I did try the AMD puts. That does violate one of my rules. If I try to bet against the trend, I do not want to generally. I was getting call action in AMD earlier today. High volume call action, and I generally try not to bet against things that are giving me alerts on volume moves. But AMD was up and getting away from my VWAP, so I was trying to catch. I was trying to catch up for a reversion back. And actually, what happened to me, the IV, either I paid too much or the IV was crushing. I couldn't remember. I ended up checking this for even up here in this range. It just wasn't doing what I wanted to do. It was coming in. My gains were not. I was still using the weekly lottos on this, and that was the last one I used for lottos for today. At around 10:30, I tried to stop because then the IV starts crushing out on you. And so I checked that for break even today. And then let's see here, what time was that? Okay, my final trade for today, that was NVIDIA puts. And my reasoning behind this, NVIDIA was breaking the VWAP. Okay, and it was already still up over 5% for the day, and I was turning bearish for the day. And I actually bought this right before Cuomo come out and announced the shutdown in New York, further shutdowns. So a lot of bearish news on the tape. And then we actually had CNBC, one of their employees died from the virus. So a combination of really bad news there coming out to drive this lower. But like I said earlier today, I got alerts for AMD and Micron, bullish call action, above average call action. And so basically, why I took NVIDIA, it wasn't catching the alerts on the above average action, and I thought the whole sector would roll over with the markets. It would lead to the downside actually if the markets decided to roll over because of the relative outperform in the morning session, and it worked out pretty good here. I sold it way too early. I just took this little scalp here for $1,000, so I was really happy with just a little bitty scalp here on the trade. But my theory was that we were going to get the know your limit 55 strategy, that we were going to come down here, just dip below there, and then chop out here the rest of the day. And that was before I actually saw all the other news hit the headlines. So I was kind of upset that I didn't keep it all the way down to the 100 now. But the 100 is acting as a support level as we speak here on the NVIDIA. But yeah, I actually thought it was going to and test the open on NVIDIA. That would have put us right below that 55. That was my theory on the trade. But we not only did that, we got more than that. So really good strategy. It's really nice to know these strategies, and they do help you out in your trading. So, but at any rate, no way in heck that I'm going long this market for the weekend. If I had to bet anything, we were going to gap down Monday. It's hard to say, what's going to happen here, but all these bounces are dead cat bounces. And honest to God, like I said on these other on these charts, the primary trends are not broken. I mean, the downtrends are not broken on and the Russell was the only one trying poke out of this accelerated downtrend situation. And as we speak, as you can see, we are completely rejecting that, suggesting we are going to be opening for further downside action into the first of the week, in my opinion. Okay, like the video if you like. Oh yeah, let me show you what's happening on the option front real quick. Give me a second here. Let me get it going. Earlier today, we had a lot more on my scan. Carnival's Cruises is the only thing above average volume. We're still catching a little bit of call side. You're up 190% on these particular options for Carnival. Now on the put side, on the daily here, let's see here. AT&T looks like it's the only things are alerting on that. So basically none of my above volume, so I have to take that off to actually get more results. So now if we go on less than above volume, now we're getting some results here. The VIX is selling off, like I said, automated trading and stuff. The Amazon puts are starting to fire here. Let's see here. Scan the... So basically, AT&T is the one that's really paying the most right now. Gilead, I mentioned that in the chat rooms earlier, that I had some sell signals on Gilead. It's starting to fall out of bed. And then Amazon, I alerted that also, saying that it was preparing to roll out of bed as well. And then, okay, we'll look at Gilead and Amazon real quick here. Let me double check my call side with that gone. We have... guys in the trading room, they're really knocking it out of the park with the Zoom video, even today. I tried to get Netflix, couldn't feel this morning, so it's taken off. The NVIDIA calls, it's showing up on my, that's one of the reasons I took it. It was one of the leaders for today, but it wasn't on above average volume. That's why I thought it was a high probability it would revert lower with the markets. Okay, so, and then Tesla's another one, high probability it would revert lower today. So something to keep in mind here. Whenever you don't have that above average volume, where's Tesla? That's the pretty good signal that at some point you want to be a net shorter of that stock. And as you can see, it would have been a nice little payday if you'd have came off that Venom line with a short above the VWAP on Tesla today. Not catching that above that average volume. Same way with Amazon. Yeah, really nice payday if you'd have taken it to the short side. I had the signal. I was calling out the signal up here at the 1890s area, 95 areas. So nice little downside action on the Amazon. Gilead, I called it out earlier in the room. Boy, it was one of the early put signals, and boy, it just completely fell out of bed here since that signal hit. I was actually looking at the options, and the volumes were so light that I was afraid to take it. But boy, that would have really been a good payday on those options if anybody would have taken that. And then Netflix was also on the thing on the call side, below average volume. Anytime I get these alerts on below average volume, I'm always veering to the downside, with the trend of the markets, thinking that the option holders, there's not enough volume there to support prices. The higher prices if the indices start to fall over. So, okay, like the video if you like it, and please just leave any comments and stuff at the bottom. I do apologize for not putting out the morning videos. I'll try to do better next week. Okay, thanks a lot, and I will see you next week.